Hello, and welcome to the live Michael Essek Hour of Power. We are redesigning your t-shirts today. If you can see and hear me, drop me a comment. Let's see who we got here. We have got Dopey Art Design. We've got David in the house. Iqbal is here already. Cool. All right, so it looks like we are rocking and a rolling. I assume sound is good and everything. We got Stan in. We've got B&A. We've got Enna, who was the winner of last week's book, I believe, unless I've got my details wrong there. And Vivian and Mark, I'm going to go with. Hello to you. Ray Cunningham is here. And Maria is here this morning. Thumbs up on the sound. Thank you, guys. Mexican Wrestler is in the house as well. Wonderful. So today we are going to do some reviewing / redesigning of your t-shirt submissions. Thank you to everyone who sent one in. Hello to you, Eric Cantona. We have, how many do we have? We have about 16 designs to look at. So hopefully we'll get through all of those within our hour. Hello to Kathleen from New York City. Giorgio is here and Manash is here. Awesome. So yeah, we'll get through. I think we'll get through all of these designs that I've picked. Thank you to you if you sent one in. If I don't get to your design in this session, then sorry about that. But hopefully you'll find it useful anyway as we review these and I give you some pointers. Good morning to you, SA, and to Sue, and to Patty, and we got Gary as well in the house. Pierre is here too. Cool. Hello to you. All right, so a couple of things first. If you can like and subscribe wherever you are watching, give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe if you haven't already. Right underneath my head, you can see there's a link, not a link, but a URL where you can go to get access to some free goodies like previous slides, useful resources from previous lives. You can get those at michaelessek.com/live. As usual, you can ask questions live. I will take them in batches and try and answer them as we go through. So today's primarily going to be about t-shirt design. It's going to be focusing on concept design and some pointers around colors and layouts and things like that. But you can ask me anything you want as well as we go through, and I'll try to answer your questions throughout. Hello to you, Pierre. Hello, Facebook user, and Anna. I don't know. I assume that Facebook user, there is someone there, but for some reason it doesn't display your name to me. So hello to you, whoever you are. So yeah, ask questions. The winner of last week's free copy of Little Book of T-shirt Ideas, which looks like this, is Ron A2Z Man. You have won a free copy, a free signed copy, I should say. And if you email me, michael@michaelessek.com, I will make sure that gets sent out to you later this week. So do stay till the end for a chance to win another signed copy of my book, if that's something you're interested in. If you haven't grabbed it already, there's Ron giving the thumbs up. So good for you, Ron. And yeah, I think without further ado, good morning to you, Victor. Good morning, Scott. Without further ado, we will get into some designs. Like I said, we've got about 16 designs to go through. I'll just kind of zoom in a little bit here. You can see if your name is, here we go. Make this a little bit big. You can see if your name is here. And yeah, let's get into it. Ron says he's a Nobel Prize winner. I'm sure you are very noble, Ron. You're a good winner, that's for sure. Don says he needs some more books. Well, Don, you can head over to michaelessek.com. You click on the books link, you'll be able to pick up a copy of my book. It is very reasonably priced. Lisa says, good morning from Arizona. Good morning to you, Lisa. And Glenda says, good morning. Good morning to you, Glenda. Okay, so what do you say? Should we get into some of these designs and have a look at them? The first one is from Stephen. So what I've done, I've pulled together, these are the designs that I think are going to be the most helpful for us to review today. So again, if I didn't choose yours for some reason, then please don't be offended. But I do get quite a lot of submissions on this front, so I do have to kind of whittle them down a bit and pick ones that I think will be most useful. I've kind of ranked them from what I would say roughly best to worst in terms of, these are designs that make sense and that I can kind of understand and that I think have a better chance of selling. Those are the ones at the top, and then down towards the bottom are the ones that I think are very difficult for me to even critique in some cases, and I also think are going to be difficult to sell. So don't take offense at that, of course. If your design is towards the bottom, hopefully you'll get some pointers in this session today that will help you improve your design skills and hopefully get better and more likely to make sales. So let's start with Stephen, who sent in his design. It was called Surfing is Essential. So this is Stephen's design. Hello from Vietnam to you, Hugh, and good afternoon to you, Noonan. Good morning from LA, says Jennifer, and Destiny is here too. Thank you, guys. Ahmed, good morning to you, and Betty, good morning to you. Okay, cool. So this is Stephen's design. So this is, I think it's as you probably agree, this is a very nice t-shirt design. It looks quite clear. It's got some text. It's got a very nice, clear illustration, which is quite simple. The colors are all kind of matching. I think we've got maybe 1, 2, 3 or 4 colors maximum there. So nice limited color palette, which is always good. So yeah, I think I did pull this up. Stephen sent a link to where this is available. It's on Cotton Bureau. So I thought if we just have a look at this, there was a couple of things I noticed, just kind of nitpicking some details on the design right off the bat. So if we look at the zoomed in version here, I don't know how well you can see this on your screens, but there's a very thin white stroke around the whole design, and also around the text. Now, personally, to me, I think that's not required, and it actually makes things look a little bit amateurish, especially when you look out at this zoomed out view. You can just kind of tell that there's a little line there, but it's not doing anything for the design. It's certainly not, adding anything. And I think you could lose that outline, the stroke around the whole thing, and also around the text. I don't think it's necessary because you've got the text in a color that is suitably different from the background. It's standing out. It's nice and clear. So you don't really need that little stroke at all. It's probably just muddying things up a little bit. So that's just kind of me nitpicking. In terms of the design itself, obviously, I guess if we talk about the concept for a second, I'm kind of imagining this is a kind of reference to, things being essential during lockdown, essential workers and all those kind of concepts. So surfing is essential. I think that's a fine concept, a fine, phrase that you could use. And I think it would appeal to surfers and that kind of crowd. I did wonder if that is the angle you're going for, and it's a kind of lockdown surfing reference kind of thing, whether you could have incorporated something around that within the design. For example, the surfer could be wearing a face mask or something like that. Now, the way you've got your illustration, I don't think a face mask on this particular character would make much of a difference. Probably wouldn't be very visible and not, wouldn't be adding much to the design if you did that. But just concepts wise, I wonder if that's the angle you're going for. I would maybe have thought of ways you could have somehow incorporated something about lockdown or COVID into the design, like a face mask. Nothing's popping off the top of my head apart from putting a face mask on the surfer, but I just think that's a concept you could have maybe played around with and pushed a little bit further. But still, there's nothing wrong with this design as it is. As you can see, it was my kind of top rated of the ones we're going to review today. There's not much more else to kind of say about it. It looks surferish. The font is surferish. The illustration is obviously very nice and clean, especially when you look at it on a grey t-shirt as you've selected it. I guess for the default, then I think it works really nicely. It looks nice. It works. It's clear. The colors are obviously sticking to a nice palette, and they're not going too crazy, and they're kind of muted. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I may have been tempted to go for a little bit of a darker background color just to make things pop a little bit more. But having said that, surfer vibe, kind of a laid back, soft pastel vibe, it just works. I think it looks very nice. So yeah, why spend time nitpicking on a design that essentially does what it's supposed to do? I think that's what this design does, and there's not much else to say about it. So Julie says hello from Florida. Hello to you. And Sue says unisex. Would men wear a shirt with a woman on it? Well, I mean, I don't want to get too far into a battle of the sexes and make this into a discussion about modern day feminism, but I think they would. Yeah, I don't think. I think the artwork is sufficiently. Obviously, it is a woman on the surfboard, but I don't think that would cause any issues. And I think when you look at the design in context, I think most people would glance at it and go, "Oh, it's a surfer on a surfboard," and not think twice about it. So yeah, I think that's not a problem. Sue says she likes the colors. Merch says could be bigger. Uh, I suppose the artwork could be bigger if that's what you're referencing, Powell. You could have pushed the artwork size a little bit more, but then again, it kind of works as a unit, I think. So I wouldn't want to force that either way. Thaddeus says hi. We've got Dr. Io here. Hello to you, and JT is here, and Code Whisperer is here. And Merch by Pal says he would wear it if he were a surfer. So yeah, thumbs up to that one. Nice design. Don't really have much that I would do differently. I'm not going to attempt to redesign it because I think it works. Okay, next one is from Manash, and this one is here we go. So let me zoom in a little bit on this one so you guys can get a better picture of it. So if you can't see this, it says a bite future. Don't fall asleep. So I think there's a lot we can fix in this design. So let's deal with perhaps the elephant in the room first, which is I think this illustration, this graphic, and I'm not 100%, but it looks to me like it's Johnny Depp in a film or something. I don't know the film or the reference, and I don't think the design is a reference to the film. I could be wrong, but I think the artist has simply taken a picture of Johnny Depp and obviously vectorized it and used it in this design. So again, could be wrong about that. If I'm missing something and it is a reference to a film, then okay, but I'm going to assume it's not, and I'm going to assume that this is just an illustration of a vampire that you've adopted for your design. So that would be problem number one. This is obviously not an original illustration. This is not only is it not an original illustration, but it's a copied illustration of a very famous figure and a very famous actor. So I think that would be a problem number one. We need to get rid of that from the design. Betty says, "Is that Johnny Depp?" I believe so. Dark Shadows, someone is saying, which I guess is the film that the artwork is taken from. It is Johnny Depp from the movie Dark Shadows. So yeah, that's problem number one. So let's place that to one side now, and let's say instead of there being this Johnny Depp illustration, we've got some other kind of generic illustration here instead. So a bite future. So here we've got a pun, a play on words here with a bite future, which I guess a bright future versus a bite future because it's a vampire. And then underneath we've got don't fall asleep. So I'm struggling a little bit because I get a bite future. That's a pun on vampires. That's fine. I don't really understand where don't fall asleep is coming in. I don't know what that's a reference to. To me, that's complicating matters and it's confusing me. So I would lose that. Just a couple of other quick, obvious things on the design front. Obviously, we've got some major kerning issues on the fonts. So you've got massive gaps here between the I and the T. It looks like what you've done is taken a font and you've gone all caps with it, but that has created these horrible kerning issues, and you would want to rethink this. Also, as a design around vampires, then I would not be using a font that looks like this. I would be trying to use a font that had some kind of reference to horror movies, vampires, something blood, anything that just made it look a little bit, more fitting with the concept. So yeah, and the don't fall asleep has got this weird blue rectangle behind it, which again, completely unnecessary and doesn't make sense. So I think we could lose that completely. But if we take the core concept, so I'm going to assume here. So B&A has asked the question that is bugging me a little bit. Would a person who knows the movie get this? For example, is this a line from the movie? I don't know. Is it referencing a joke in the movie? Again, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe it is, in which case, okay. If it is a reference to the movie and it's a joke from the movie, then all the design issues still apply. We've still got problems there. But if it's not a reference to the movie, then we've got even more problems, if that makes sense. So I think what I would do here is I'm going to fire up my iPad and just kind of give a quick idea of how I'd attack this. Let's just see. Merch by Pal's got some suggestions. Remove Johnny Depp, add another vampire vector, add vampire teeth that bite the word bite, change the font to a horror style, remove Don't Fall Asleep. Yeah, pretty good summing up. Dr. Io says, don't fall asleep so you don't get bitten. Yeah, I mean, I kind of get that as in a vampire reference, but I don't understand what that has to do with the design, if that makes sense. Scott says, if it's for a dentist type of thing, cover the T into a dab of toothpaste. Cover the T into a dab of toothpaste. Yeah, okay. So it could be something like that. Okay, so let me fire up my Manesh says means if you sleep you will get bitten by a Dracula. Okay. So I kind of get that, but I'm not. I think there's there's a couple of things here. Let me get rid of this and share my iPad screen here a second. So there are. Let's take a step back a second here. Problem one. Without getting too into like, does it make sense? Of course, vampires do bite you in your sleep or whatever. Not in real life, but that's the concept of a vampire. But the problem is, whenever we're looking at all these designs and all the designs that we're going to look at, the thing you have to have in the back of your mind, and the problem that a lot of them run up against, especially as we get down the list, is there's two main problems. Problem number one is who wants this shirt? Who wants this shirt? And kind of a sub question to that is why. So who is the shirt for? Who's going to want to buy it? And why do they want to buy it? That's kind of problem one. Problem two is how are they going to find it? Because you could have an answer to problem number one. You could say, oh, who would want this shirt? Anyone who likes vampires. Okay. Then the question is, how are they going to find it? Just because people who like vampires might like this shirt doesn't mean they're going to be able to find it. And even if they were to scan it, it needs to obviously stand out and grab their attention and that kind of thing. So here's what I'd do with, hope that makes sense. Just kind of keep this whole thing in the back of your mind, because I'll return to it with a couple of the other designs we look at, especially as we get kind of down the list. There are a few that don't, to me, have any answer to this question or to this one or to this one. Who's going to wear the shirt? Who wants the shirt? Why do they want it in the first place? And how are they going to find it? Okay. So now I've done that, let me kind of take this concept and show what I do. So assuming that we're not referencing a movie directly, but instead we've got a joke around a bite future, which is a pun. It's not the world's best pun, but it works. I think it does kind of make sense. I think the way I would approach something like that would be to think, is there a way we can illustrate, a vampire or something like that around this pun and make it work as just I would go down the kind of anyone who's kind of into vampires or maybe is looking for a funny vampire pun shirt or something like that. I mean, you could go other ways, of course, because a bite future, there's lots of things that bite could apply to: crocodiles, dentistry, all these kind of different options there. For example, we could do like we could do a tooth with a graduation hat on and smiling because he's graduated. A bite future for graduates of dentistry or something like that. So there are there are options out there, but I would usually go down this kind of route with a simple pun like this. Um, what's a simple illustration we could do? So could we do like, to me, a bite future? It would be kind of a cute vampire of some kind. Um, oops. Let me see if I can draw a nice cute vampire. So obviously you want to make a big deal of the teeth with it being a vampire. So I'm kind of thinking of something like this. And vampires have kind of pointy ears, don't they? I think you want to make sure it looks like a classic kind of vampire. So I'm going to go kind of bald-headed Nosferatu style. Again, I'm kind of thinking you could go down the graduate route, have this guy wearing a little tasseled hat, and then he could be. What do you have? Oh, you have like a little. You have your actual graduation papers, don't you? So you could have him. He's just graduated from vampire school or something, and we go with the text kind of. I mean, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm kind of leaning towards it could be like a greetings card or like a, congratulations on your graduation or something. Looking forward to a bite future. So something like that. And then obviously designed nicely. But I think I may have pushed the concept a little further than who was the original Manash had in mind in the first place. So yes, let me see some comments here. So Bazooka says that was a link to the original pick from the movie. So maybe it is a reference to the movie, in which case you can kind of ignore most of what I said. But in which case, I'd not. If you are going to do a play on a movie reference or something, what you don't want to do is include a character from the movie. You certainly don't want to include a vectorized image of artwork from the movie. Let me get back to our original here. You certainly don't want to include a vectorized version of the main character from the movie because that's going to land you in hot water pretty quickly. But I guess we could say from this example, we could take the concept and create, something original just from a very simple pun that you've either borrowed from the movie or maybe you haven't. I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of how I'd run with something like that. Okay. Much Papal says looks so funny. And Destiny says that's amazing. So cool. All right, let's move on to our next one because we do have quite a few to get through here. This one from Michael is I created a monster. He calls me dad. So I think this is a nice little line. I don't know if it's an original one, Michael, or you've seen it somewhere and created your own version of it. I think funny that we've just had a vampire one and now we're talking monsters as well. But I would be tempted to push this a little bit further and get some graphics in there as well. I think it could be done simply without overcomplicating it. I do think, if we're going to say just keep it text based and you wanted to keep it text based, or let's imagine you were commissioned to do this design, but they wanted a text only design without any illustration or something, then critiquing this version, I think there's a bit too much. This top font, this one you've used at the top here, is a bit too big. I think you've kind of got the concept of making monster the focal point of the design. That being the case, I would not be lining up my top text with monster. I'd want to make that a bit smaller and monster be bigger. So let me just switch back to my iPad here and I'll show you what I mean. So if we go for I'd do something like this. I created a monster. He calls me Dad. So make monster the biggest. Don't have I created a lining up with it. Make sure that monster, has the kind of focal point of the design. Um, I think as well, just kind of flicking straight back to your version. I'm not sure this font works that well. I think the interplay between the two fonts, well, it's obvious there's a difference. I think it could, there could be a better font choice going on there. I think, I don't know, nothing springing to mind off the top of my head, but they don't seem to create enough of a contrast, I think. And the other thing you've not used is color. You've not changed the color, so you could change the color of monster to green or to red or something to really emphasize the point. So yeah, that's kind of how I'd approach it if we were going text only. However, I think it's a nice concept. I think it's a concept that could be pushed further, and we could go for something like B&A says Dad could be larger, emphasized too. Yep, could certainly do that. Tara says I think the top font is too feminine. Keep it thin to balance the detail monster font, but I'd go simpler, less cutie. So yeah, some good ideas there. Ron's got some good ideas as well. You could add monster elements to the word itself, like some eyes or some horns or something. That's a nice approach. And B&A monster in green or something. So yeah, but to kind of what I think you could do with this design, it's kind of quite a wordy design, which is one reason where sometimes text based is best. If you have got a lot of words, it can then be hard to squeeze in an illustration and make it all fit nicely as well. But I think to me, the thing that came to mind is a nice, cute illustration that would be something like. Obviously, the play on words and the joke is I created a monster. It's kind of a Frankenstein reference. So could we do a simple illustration of a cute Frankenstein approach? I'm not really sure how you draw Frankenstein cute. I'll give it a go. So big eyes. You always need big eyes if things are going to be cute. A big smile, maybe a kind of toothy grin like this. A couple of bolts in his neck. I know that's not technically the Frankenstein of the book, but nevertheless, kind of cute little nose. We want it to look like a kiddie Frankenstein without being. So obviously, it's not supposed to be scary or anything. Now, you could go super simple, like here's Frankenstein, and it's just an illustration of him. Whatever, don't really know what Frankenstein wears, but cute looking Frankenstein, and then the text kind of, I don't know, something like I created a monster. So again, this would be a monstery font of some kind. He calls me Dad, and do a little bit of emphasis on Dad, maybe change the color or something like that. So you could go for something simple like that. I think that could work as a nice design. Or you could even kind of do a graphic that incorporated Frankenstein and Dad together. So something like, Frankenstein's here and he's cuddling Dad. Maybe Dad is a little bit smaller, but I guess that only works if your son is taller than you. But that's kind of something that I had in mind. You could do something like that. Dad and Frankenstein together. Don't really know what Dad's hair is like, but whatever. Something like that. And having a cuddle or squeezing him or picking him up or something like that, where you could kind of work Dad into the design. I think it could be a nice Father's Day card or something like that. it could work as a t-shirt, but maybe works better as a card or something like that. But yeah, hopefully you get the idea there and how you could perhaps push it forwards and make it even more. I don't know, just push the concept forward and get some illustrations in there. Of course, I always like to make sure I'm pushing concepts as far as you can. And of course, when you are doing some illustration, you're creating something that can be, it's leveling up the design. So it usually means that you're less likely to face immediate copying, or certainly, people are going to have to work harder if they want to copy you or one up you or something like that. So yeah, hope that helps for you, Michael. Michael was that design. Tulpenelf says, "What is this nice monster font? Anybody know the font?" Off the top of my head, I do not, but maybe someone in the who's watching will be able to help. Okay, let's move on to our next one, which is from Irina. Irina sent over this. So there's actually kind of two things going on here. So this design here, which is a kind of abstract unicorn, pink unicorn, over what looks like someone's shoulders. And then it says, "Be safe, mask yourself." And thankfully, Irina has given us a little bit of background to the design. And it says, "Be safe, stay inside a unicorn. A few months ago, anyone wearing a unicorn face mask in public would have drawn stares. Luckily, we've moved past that harsh time period into one where it's perfectly acceptable to wear a pink head cover to protect yourself against reality." I'm not sure whether that's true, Irina, but I'll take it for now. So if this is a t-shirt design, we have got a few problems off the bat, just on the design front. So leave the concept to one side for now. Let's just talk about the design. This design is not ideally suited for a t-shirt in its current form. It has a background, which is this kind of weathered texture thing going on, the kind of gray color you see, which is not helpful for a t-shirt. Wouldn't be ideal for a t-shirt. You'd want to lose that background. The style of the artwork is this kind of pastel-y, I'm not really sure how you'd describe it, but it's very textured. And I guess the kind of pastels or chalk kind of effect. And again, I don't think that's really ideal for t-shirts either. What I typically like to see is clear, bold lines, solid blocks of color, and lines and details like that. So this isn't really, I don't think it's going to create a really ideal t-shirt graphic. We've also got problems with the text, which I think is too difficult to read. But again, this kind of all feeds back into, it really does get back into kind of the problem with the concept, which is, personally, I mean, unless I've missed something, there isn't a large movement of people going around wearing unicorn masks instead of face masks or something. So in that sense, I think there's a little bit of a problem. I think if I could suggest where I think the concept would work, and if I fire up my iPad again here, where I think you might be able to kind of make something work here is kind of a joke around, wear a mask and wearing masks and that kind of thing. So obviously masks, people mean face masks down here, but masks can also mean what I think kind of Irina was getting at, like massive over the face, completely covering masks. So I think there's a possibility there to do something. I do think, I don't know if this is a bit of a stretch, but I was thinking of maybe not unicorn masks, but those kind of horse masks you see that are like these massive latex horse masks. And this is going to be really hard to illustrate. Horse mask. So this graphic, let me share my screen again here. Thanks for sticking with me on this one, guys. Animal rubber mask. So this mask, um, I kind of think this maybe has a little bit of a kind of iconic thing, especially in kind of internet culture and memes and stuff. The horse mask, this particular type and style of horse mask could work. And there you could take that, if you illustrated this and then did something like wear a mask or something, that could be a funny joke because, of course, mask, you mean little face mask, but why can't I wear a massive horse mask or something? So that could be a joke and that could kind of work. But yeah, in general, I think the concept is difficult to really follow, and the design is not ideally suited for a t-shirt either. So again, unless I'm missing something, I think we'll leave that one to one side. Now, Irene also asked me to look at these designs she'd done. Now, these are much more interesting. So I'll just kind of sum these up. This says how to get rich, wonderful business advice for artists during a pandemic. And what Irina has done is a series of little jokes, text with a little bit of illustration. Sell your unpaid bills as face masks on Etsy. Repurpose your unsold manuscripts as toilet paper. License your boring poems as general aesthetics. Market your writer's block as fitness equipment. Redesign and sell your vodka stash as holistic body and mind sanitizer. So this, I think, is interesting because these design-wise, all these designs would work much better on a t-shirt than this design at the top. So these are really nice, very simple. They're clear, they're easier to read. The illustrations and the way you've used the colors is very nice. You've kept it limited and stuff, so it's nice and clear. It's nice, and you've obviously hand drawn it as well, which is nice and effective and makes things look more authentic and cool. The problem with these is they're not really t-shirt designs, and obviously as individual designs they don't make sense as t-shirt designs. But what you have done is a really nice, what I would understand and what I thought when I saw it is it's a really nice Instagram or Twitter shareable. It's the kind of thing that you see getting shared and kind of goes viral on Twitter or Instagram quite regularly. Someone does a series of little jokes like this, and then they share it, within one tweet or within a multi Instagram post, and people will share it and like it, and you could generate quite a bit of interest and likes and follows and exposure through something like that. So I would say that's a great. I don't know whether you've done that, whether that was the intent in the first place. If so, of course, you get what I'm saying. But I wouldn't say that they stand to work as a t-shirt design. I think if you have something like this, a series of little kind of jokes that work as a collection and don't really work on their own, they have to be encapsulated together in order to kind of make sense. There is room to do t-shirt designs like that, and the way I would approach it is, as I flip back to my iPad, goodbye Mr. Horse, is to do something like this is just to help the layout, but you kind of have your design title at the top, so you could do something like ideas for artists or whatever. And then, because you see this format quite a lot, and then you would have kind of like 2 or 3, of each thing in a box, maybe up to 9. It's probably like the maximum. And then you would kind of have your little, now for yours, I think yours are too detailed to really work. They would be too small in this layout. But what you could do is do a really simple like illustration, like, and then really break it down. So like sell vodka as thingy, whatever you said. What did you say? Sell your vodka as hand sanitizer. And then, really simple illustration of a vodka bottle. Sell your manuscripts as toilet paper, and do a little illustration of toilet paper there. So that can work, and then that could make for a design, and that kind of lends itself more to t-shirt design, maybe more as like a poster or something like that. And that's take the same concept. It works on Instagram, but then you can repurpose it to create something that people might want to buy. And these kind of series of designs, let's just go back to Irina's site. These kind of series of designs and things like that They do. I think they're really worth pursuing because and to do more things like this, because they do have so many different applications. They can occasionally work as individual designs, but maybe not this particular scenario. You can repurpose them, as I've just shown, to do like a poster or a t-shirt design. They could be repurposed into a book or something like that. So yeah, hope that helps you, Irina. That's kind of the thinking I would go down with that, with this kind of approach. Okay. Pierre says there's a unicorn version of that mask. Yeah, probably is, as well, but I don't know whether the unicorn would be automatically as recognizable as a horse mask. Okay. Eric says he's learning the selling side of the industry. We have the cornet printers that print the shirts, and he's learning how to get orders online. Okay, cool. Nice to have you here, Eric. Okay, let's move on to our next one. This is Mike from, yes, Mike from, I don't know where he's from. All I got was a email with this. And it says, when life gives you lemons, roll a joint. So obviously not commenting on the legal or non-legal issues wherever you are regarding the smoking of certain plants. But when life gives you lemons, roll a joint. What can be said about this design? So, okay, the concept is clear. That's certainly true. It's a lemon smoking a joint, and he's obviously a Rastafarian lemon with the hat and the dreads and everything. So let's talk about the design side. Not too much wrong here. We've got a very simple graphic. We've got the text. I probably would want to do a bit more interplay between the text and the graphic, maybe curve the text a little bit. You kind of have a bit of dead space here and here, which if you curved that text, around the shape of the lemon, it would kind of make things look a little bit more fitting together. There isn't any interplay between the text and the graphic, and I always like to see if I can find ways to do that. So yeah, and also usually if we're doing a design like this, I would, why is the text white when it could be the same yellow as the lemon, and then it would work a little bit more, fitting together as well. So something like that. Those kind of design things I would talk about. But also, I've just noticed as well, the Rastafarian hat looks like it's just been dropped on. It isn't. It's obviously not sketched in the same way as the lemon has been, and I think that's a bit amateurish. I would want to hand draw the whole concept together so that it looks like a complete illustration that's been done in one sitting, not something that's had some clip art dropped on top of it. So yeah, those on the design side. On the concept side, I think the problem is that I don't really. I guess we could say, in going back to our original, who's going to buy this, who's going to want this design, then we could say people who smoke joints, people who do that, could be searching for designs like this. But of course, no one's going to be searching for that phrase, but you're going to have to try and get it in front of those using those keywords and stuff like that. So would it work? Could it make sales? I mean, yes, it could. I don't see it ever being something that really catches on or is a huge seller. I guess there's just not enough of a hook for me to really, see how that would work. But yeah, those would be my critiques on the design side. On the concept side, when life gives you lemons, roll a joint. Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's the strongest of concepts. Let's put it that way. But I'll leave it there because I don't really have much to say redesigning that one. Andrea says you would endanger your merch account with this. Possibly. Honestly, I can't keep up with merch with regards to things like drug use, profanity, not concepts, but issues like that, controversial issues like that do change from time to time. It's hard to keep up with what's okay and what isn't. Okay, Reza has this one. This is our next one to critique. Don't let your plastic trash fill the ocean. World Ocean Day, world spelt wrong, Reza, red flag number 1, and a graphic of a blue whale inside a transparent plastic bag. So this is actually an interesting. This is an interesting concept or version, because this actually has all the elements of a decent design. So number 1, Reza is going after a clear market. So obviously there is quite an interest in climate change, in keeping the oceans clean, in recycling, and there's lots of designs out there that work with that niche and go after that niche, keeping the oceans clean. There's a lot of turtle designs. I think we've covered stuff like that before. So there's obviously a clear, market there. So we can understand who he's going after. So number 1, he gets a tick for that. He's got illustration and he's got some text. His illustration is trying to merge, a couple of ideas together, and he's trying to bring together an illustration of some ocean life and plastic and waste and stuff like that. So I like that idea. He's kind of worked them together. I'm going to critique his actual illustration in a second, but he's at least making an effort to do something original there, I think. And he's got some text. He's got something that we can actually, talk about. He's got a message on the shirt, which is good. So let's actually, he gets a tick for all those things. That's great. Where it falls down is his version of each of those things is actually relatively weak. So here's what I'd do with this thing. So the phrase you've got here, Reza, "Don't let your plastic trash fill the ocean," it's a really good example of like stating blatantly the message you want to get across. And with t-shirts, people, t-shirts that sell and t-shirts that people identify with, they put a twist on things. So they don't just state the message. They don't usually just come out and say, "Don't drop your litter on the beach," because that would be too blatant. And what instead they do is they use a pun, or they use a joke, or they use a hook, or they use some way, instead of saying, "Don't let your plastic fill the ocean," you could have done something like, less trash, more. I'm trying to think of something that rhymes with trash that would work, but you get the point. Some kind of little catchy phrase, some kind of little pun that would appeal to people, because people don't really just want to walk around wearing a shirt that says, "I hate Donald Trump. I will be voting for Joe Biden at the next election." They want a joke. They want to say "dump Trump" or something like that, or I don't know, some kind of Biden pun or whatever. So this is a good example of, what not to do. Don't state, in complete clarity the concepts or the thing that you want to communicate. Find a way to say it in a funny, catchy, silly, or otherwise light-hearted way. So yeah, that's kind of point number 1. I don't really have one off the top of my head that I would use instead, but I'm sure everyone can think of something, or of something already that does the rounds. And with a little bit of work, using a little bit of strategy, you could easily come up with some ideas around this, whether it's, taking words about the ocean. "Don't splash your trash," Mexican wrestler has just said. So there's a good example. So anything like that, where you can combine the issues, or Eric says plastics attack. Andrea says whales prefer their ocean plastic free. Again, it's a little more wordy, but it's at least got a hook that isn't there with yours, Reza. I wouldn't. I mean, obviously you spelt it wrong anyway, but I wouldn't want to put World Ocean Day on my design. I know that perhaps some people do buy shirts for those purposes, but if your design is going to be evergreen and kind of sell year round and stuff, then you don't really want to tie it to an event. Now, of course, there can be situations where you might want to do that, especially for that purpose. But if you're going to do that, then also do a version where you take that off and you have a more generic, design that could be worn by anyone who's not necessarily associated or knows what World Ocean Day is, but simply likes the design and likes the message thereof. And illustration-wise, I think it kind of works. I think design-wise, there's a couple of issues um, like the line weight of the whale is quite significantly smaller than the line weight of the bag. So the actual thickness of these lines is different, and that is a little bit of an amateurish um, mistake that amateurs often make. So yeah, that's one thing. I don't know. I think there probably could be better ways of combining the two elements of trash, plastic, and whales and ocean life that would be a better way of combining the two. Nothing's popping to my head immediately, but if we think about things like, plastic bottles, um, I don't know, plastic bags. I get, yes, it is waste, um, but I'm just thinking there must be some way we could do that. But that's not, you've made an effort, Reza, and I like that. So hopefully that helps you. Don't want to stay too long on one design, so we've only got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to race through some more here. But hopefully that gives you some pointers, Reza. Okay. Comments here. Question from Sue says, general question, what are your thoughts on doing only one design? Sorry, on doing one design as text only, another as a color illustration, one as multicolor illustration with text, all built off the same premise. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Sue, and I think especially if you're trying to jump on a trend or something that isn't very competitive, then that can be a great way to kind of grab you a lot of real estate early on. And especially if it's taking the same concept and it's not going to take a lot of work, then certainly for print on demand sites, Redbubble, all these others, I think that can be a great idea. The only kind of hesitation there would be you don't really want to do that on your own Shopify store or Etsy store, perhaps, where Etsy would be okay, but maybe on your Shopify store, you probably don't want to be like promoting the same design in 4 different variations. It just kind of confuses people and it looks a bit, I don't know, can look a bit amateurish and stuff. But hopefully that helps. Okay. Cool. BNA says that's good. Repurposing designs. Exactly. Okay. Dave Smith had this idea. No, sorry, Lisa had this one here. Kazoo in my brew. Hashtag life with kids. So I think this is kind of the idea here is that this is something that's happened in Lisa's personal life. She has found a kazoo in her brew. So I think design-wise, let's talk about that briefly. Nice, clear illustration. I get I understand the different elements. I think there's probably a few too many colors going on here. I'd want to lose some color action, and I think maybe the red and the brown of the kazoo are a little bit too close. I would think about mixing the colors up a little bit there to do something that kind of contrasts a little more clearly. As for the concept itself, I think, again, if we go back to our main questions, it would be very difficult to understand who's going to want to wear this design and why, and how they would find it in the first place. So yeah, those are problems I think that would need to be addressed. However, what you have got is a nice catchy little line, kazoo in my brew. And I wonder whether this could be something you could adapt to the kazoo market, if there is such a thing, people who play the kazoo. Then that could be something that might be worth doing. I wouldn't go with a hashtag on a design. To me, that doesn't really appeal. And I certainly think there could be a lot more done around the text here, which looks a bit flat and a bit kind of amateurish. You have got the kazoo popping above the text, which is good, but it's not really working great for me as it is. So whether there's room for a kazoo in my brew design for kazoo players, or kazoo and my brew, or more brews, more kazoos. I love kazoos and brews, something like that. might appeal for that. But I think the problem is the concept is so niche. Obviously, it's something that's happened in your life. It's not necessarily going to appeal to other people as well. Okay, Dave Smith had this idea of doing air Bjorn, like a baby Bjorn design, but for people whose kids are in the airborne unit or something like that. Hold on, let me read it because I'm making a hash of it. Michael, I have an idea that I would like to see if you can turn into a t-shirt design. It is geared towards military parents with an airborne unit and have children. Air Bjorn. My idea is to have a baby in a baby Bjorn, but instead of being carried by the dad, it's attached to a parachute. Might appeal to military parents with a sense of humor. I think it would work best in a cartoon style. So I think I do get the concept, Dave. I think the problem is perhaps number one, Baby Bjorn, which I think would be a trademark, and I think there's an issue around that. And I think the joke is a little bit difficult. The idea that came to my mind when you said Air Bjorn was to do something kind of based on ABBA or something like that, or Bjorn Borg or something. So you'd have a I don't know, Airborne would be like Bjorn Borg or Bjorn from ABBA in the sky or flying or something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I think, to be honest, I don't think it's the strongest of concepts. I don't think I would really bother pursuing it, mainly because it's making a reference to a trademarked name, which would be difficult to really pursue. So hope that helps. Lance has this one here. BNA says, your opinion of hashtags incorporated into designs is don't use. Yeah, I think so. I'm not saying that you shouldn't make use of hashtags as far as, trying to score organic traffic from things like that. But I don't think using a hashtag in a design is usually makes much sense to me. There may be situations, especially if you're doing a campaign or something and you're trying to spread a hashtag, then fine. But for most of the kind of generic-y novelty shirts we're creating, I think it's not the ideal way to do it. Okay. Abuelo al cahuete, which is apparently Spanish for doting grandfather, I think you said, Lance. So obviously this is a very simple design. It's supposed to label the wearer as a doting grandfather, and that's the thing about it. Obviously, it basically says doting grandfather, I think, as in I'm a doting grandfather. Design-wise, obviously, it's incredibly simple, and I would probably want to be looking at ways you could kind of incorporate some kind of more detailed illustration in there. I don't know what that would be, whether that would be, an illustration of a grandfather or something like that. But yeah, I think it's such a simple, design that there's not a lot I can really say about it. It's, the concept is very simple. I'm a doting grandfather. Okay, great. I'm sure there are, there'd be some interest out there for such a design. And I think you mentioned, Lance, about kind of using the same words for doting grandmother and all that kind of stuff. So fine, but I think there's very little of a hook or anything there that we can really push forward. It's such a simple version. So yeah, I think we'll leave that one there. Carrie has this one. So I'm trying to just kind of rush through to get through all these before our time expires. Carrie has Sweet Wisdom, Ancient Greek Design. So yeah, a couple of points on this one, Carrie. It was difficult to... a couple of comments from Lance here. Maybe incorporate flag. Yeah, that's one thing you could do, Lance, with your with this. If you think that's something that would work. To customize for specific Latin American countries, yeah, possibly. However, having said that, I mean, if I was selling I'm a great grandfather or something t-shirts here in the UK, it would be weird for them to incorporate the Union Jack in the design. It would just be like, why, So something to consider there. It might simply work better as a simple version like you've done, if that makes sense. Okay, Sweet Wisdom. So this is supposed to be this was not a concept that made sense to me when I first looked at it, so I did have to look twice. This is supposed to be a Greek, I don't know, Greek dude sculpture, and he's chocolate underneath, and it says "sweet wisdom," sweet as in chocolate, and wisdom is sweet, so that kind of thing. I think concept-wise, it's not the strongest. I think if sweet wisdom was a phrase that people used regularly or something, then the concept would work. But at least to me, sweet wisdom is not a phrase. I mean, I did Google it. I couldn't really see that it's in use as a kind of popular phrase. So that's a problem for me. I think the crux of the design in that sense doesn't really work. However, I did notice down here in your little description about the design, you use this phrase. You said, it turns out that behind those ancient Greek statues lie sweet chocolate, literal nuggets of wisdom. So you said nuggets of wisdom, and I just thought, well, that's funny. That could be a nice little design. You could go for something like a chicken nugget with I don't know, what could he be doing? So a chicken nugget that's really wise. He could have a mustache and a beard, maybe, because that kind of symbolizes wisdom. And he could be, I don't know, reading a book, or he could be teaching, or he could have seem to be doing graduate hats or something. Or you could have a collection of these guys who all look pretty smart. So a chicken nugget with glasses on, who's also very wise. I don't know. I just thought that could be a fun little concept. Nuggets of wisdom. To me, that makes more sense off the bat than the chocolate Greek guy and sweet wisdom, which would be fine if sweet wisdom was something that people said, but to me, it's not really. So yeah, you guys can probably think of some better ways of illustrating wiseness than I've done. But if you take that concept of chicken nuggets, make them look wise, draw them up, that's a funny little pun. That could work as as a funny generic pun out there for different niches and stuff. Okay. B&A says I could not tell it was supposed to be chocolate. Yeah, I struggled with that too. And Maddie says, hi, Michael. I have a quick color space question. Do you create your designs in CMYK? I saw that Redbubble advised creating designs in CMYK, then converting to RGB. I don't. I just create them in RGB, and I just make sure that my colors are sufficiently differentiated. They're nice and clear and obvious, and not, it's not going to make a huge difference if the red that I've designed comes off a little bit softer or whatever, as long as the interplay between the colors on the shirt is nice and clear. So that's hope that makes sense to you, Maddie. I just design in RGB and don't have a problem with that. Okay. Next design is Tom, who's sent over this one. Tommy Fullfigure. So I guess this is a play on Tommy Hilfiger, but instead of Hilfiger, it's Fullfigure. I think it's obviously you're playing off a very famous fashion brand, which is always a difficult place to play in anyway. So I'm not sure I would really pursue this one myself. I think it's, and again, going back to our initial questions, who's going to want this design? Who's going to be looking for it? Who's going to want it and why? Yes, if you could kind of get the joke going somewhere within a little group or on Twitter or something, then fine. Or within a group of, I don't know, particularly big, heavy built guys or something like that, then yeah, it could have legs there. But I think that requires you to jumpstart the push yourself. It's not something that people are necessarily going to go looking for, and I'm not sure how you would word it. And of course, you've got the added issue of it being potentially copyright infringing and stuff like that, which for a design like this is always going to be a danger, because you're playing so closely to the recognizable trademarked brand of a fashion, not even a food company or something, but a fashion company, people who do make t-shirts, and that always can be a risky place to play. Okay, David says you could use a tooth character wearing a hat, mustache. Yeah, exactly that kind of thing. Tara likes nuggets of wisdom. So does Mutant Chisel. That is a super cute concept. So yeah, I think it's a fun concept. Sue, hi Michael. I'm just starting, and when I went to download my T-shirt on Merch, it says it is saving in draft and will not let me publish. Yeah, sorry, Sue. I'm not really sure what's going on with Merch right now. I think things are still on their way to being back to normal, but aren't there yet. Muad says, can you please teach us how we can find pertinent tags? Yes, Muad, if you go on my YouTube channel, you look back, there's a session especially about tags and keywords. So if you go back and watch that session, it's about an hour long, plenty of useful information in that. Much Papal says you can apply this concept to so many things. Tacos of wisdom with a Mexican beard, for example. Yeah, I mean, is tacos of wisdom a thing people say though? Because nuggets of wisdom certainly is. So that's why it makes sense as a joke. Irina says thank you, that was helpful. Kathleen says Merch isn't letting us add any new designs. Okay, so there you have your answer. Okay, cool. So a couple more left. Let's get through these really quickly. Chelsea sent through this, which is a quite a nice illustration of a fishing scene. However, again, I'm going to go back to our main questions. Who's going to want it? Who wants to buy it? Who wants to wear it? And how are they going to find it? This is a nice generic illustration of a fishing scene, but there is no hook. There's no concept. There's no joke. There's no oomph that's going to make someone pay attention to it. It looks very pleasant. It's a very nicely designed, drawn piece, but it's not in its current form going to make for a great t-shirt. I mean, I think if you kind of maybe inverted the colors here or something, and you kind of weathered the look, and you had it as a kind of faded print on a shirt, that could work. But personally, I think it's very hard to kind of make sales in those very generic, illustration, aesthetic based spaces unless you have, a joke or a hook. And there really isn't a hook. Of course, there's a fishing hook, but there's not a hook on the design. Merch by Powell grabbed the same joke that I just did. He was quicker than me, of course. So yeah, that's the issues with this design. Obviously, you show skill as a designer and as an illustrator, but to make it a t-shirt design requires something more, and that's lacking in this at the moment, if that makes sense. Okay, Miles sent through a link to his Redbubble store, and to be honest here, this is Miles' Redbubble store. There's a lot of variety here. There's some photographs, there's some hieroglyphics, there's photos, and there's kind of abstract stuff. In fact, I can pull up another one here from Ayaz. He sent through these designs. Now, again, kind of just going back to the problem with the previous design. These are so abstract and so without context that they are never going to sell, in my opinion. They're just you could upload 200,000 designs like this. I'd be surprised if you ever made a sale, and I'd be surprised what your angle is going to be, how you're going to describe these designs, because they are so, there's nothing there unless I'm really missing something. Obviously, this looks like, abstract modern art type of stuff, but there's no way for people to find them, to understand them, to there's nothing going on. You may as well write a script that generates random graphics and throws them together on a shirt and hope to make sales. There's nothing really there. Miles, your examples, some of them are better and they work nicer on shirts like this. This looks visually nice, but again, we are going down the aesthetic kind of thing, and we're hoping that someone's going to search for, in this case, canine rainbow. I'd be surprised if anyone searches for that ever. So yeah, this is the problem you've got with designs like this: is who's going to wear it, how are they going to find it, and then you've got some random stuff here, like you've got just a random monkey graphic, which is has no nothing to it, and the title is just hanging out. So I mean, you could have taken, just hanging out is a decent pun for a monkey like this. Why not work in the text with with the design, and make it work as a concept? So yeah, some real problems there, and I think you really need to rethink. What's your angle? But again, just return to our major questions: who wants this? Who wants to wear it? How are they going to find it? And if you can't answer those questions clearly and concisely, then you really have a problem. Okay, last one here was from Bethany. So Bethany sent these over, and again, these are um, designs that are so simple that again we just got big problems in who's going to wear it, how are they going to find it, why does someone want to wear this, why would someone want to wear a raindrops are falling on my head t-shirt that looks like this? There is no joke, there's no hook that I can identify. So, and this one as well, unless I could be missing something, but these are so simplistic. These are really going to struggle to make sense. I hope I'm not being too harsh, but I'm trying to explain that you could create a million such designs and you would be very lucky to make a sale a month, in my opinion. So let's take a couple of questions here before we wrap things up. Vivian says, can you talk about how would people find your shirt? Is it just finding customer on Reddit, Facebook group, or are there other ways to let your customer know that your t-shirt exists? So great question, Vivian. The primary way that I have sold 90% of my t-shirts over the past 5 years is through organic search. So people looking for a t-shirt about a particular design, or even looking for a specific design. So people going into Google and searching for funny koala t-shirt, something like that. And then they would find my design and they would buy it, or they would go to Amazon and search for funny koala t-shirt or something like that. So that's the primary way I have made the majority of my sales. You certainly can go and promote your stuff on Reddit, or you can try. It's relatively tricky. And if you go back to previous session, I talk about that and the best way to do that. So yeah, you can promote in Facebook groups and Reddit groups. It's going to be difficult because people don't like being sold to in groups that are mainly for people to share advice or just hang out together. It's much better to create something that is for a target audience who might be looking for it. So a good example is obviously in America, it's going to be an election in November this year. People are going to want to wear t-shirts supporting or criticizing Donald Trump or Joe Biden, who are going to be the nominees. And people are going, there's going to be all kinds of different groups, subgroups who are going to support Joe Biden or Donald Trump. There's going to be gun supporters who like Donald Trump. There's going to be vegans who like Joe Biden. There's going to be Mexicans who probably don't like Donald Trump, but well, probably is actually some Mexicans who like Donald Trump. But you get the idea. So there's all kinds of different groups and people, and there's something that people are going to be searching for, because as the election approaches, people are going to want to wear t-shirts around their preferred candidate. So if you can create ideas and jokes and puns and catchy sayings or whatever around something like that, where people are going to be searching for it, that's a great way to gain eyeballs on your work and make sales. So hope that helps. Okay. Any tips for selling via Instagram? I think I covered that in a previous session, WTD. So if you go back and look, I think we did a session on like brand building, and maybe the same session where we talked about Reddit. But off the top of my head, selling via Instagram, I have had relative success using techniques like sponsored posts. So contacting a non-clothing, non-business account that is an influencer in the space, usually an individual, but sometimes more of a generic account, and getting them to paying them to advertise my design. And I think I did speak in the previous session about the best way to do that. What you don't want to do is just say, hey, here's a picture of my design, can you promote it? What you want to do is build a story around your design, try and get some traction and some real context that really helps people get motivated to buy it. And that's tricky, but there's ways to do it. So yeah, that's kind of my approach with Instagram. Hope that helps. Eric, Michael, should you figure out what people are searching for, then create designs, or create the design and try to find customers? Eric, you can do both ways, and both ways work. I like to kind of do a idea first, then check, and then proceed. So if I have an idea for a shirt, I will then have a concept in my head. So maybe the nuggets of wisdom thing. And sometimes I'll just be like, oh, you know what? I think it's funny. I'm just going to create it, and then I'll give it the best tags and stuff I can. Hopefully, it'll be found and make sales, and that works. And it's worked for me for years, and it still works. However, you do have to do that at scale, and you have to be prepared for a lot of your designs not to be successful. But what I often do is have an idea, and then I might go and look online and see, okay, are there markets I can target this to? Is there interest in chicken nugget designs? Is there interest in something like that? Is there a way I could appeal to that? And then I might just try and verify that. So I might want to look for what I would be looking for as a market that's not too crowded. So obviously I'm not, if I think, oh, maybe I should do a vote for Donald Trump design, I'm going to go and look at that and then see, oh, there's a billion designs out there, so that's a bad idea. Too competitive. And then on the flip side, you might be like, oh, there's nothing around. What are some of the examples we had before? There's nobody searching for sweet wisdom. So therefore, it doesn't make sense. Not only can I not find any t-shirt designs around it or anything like that, but I can't even find anyone saying the quote or even using it as a phrase or using it in an article or using it as a cartoon or anything. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Have an idea, try and verify that it's not either too crowded or it's not too dead, and then proceed and create it. But I also work the other way as well. Create a design, hope for the best, fingers crossed. If your designs are good, if your ideas are good, if you have proven experience in it like I do, then it's likely that you have stuff that is going to end up selling. So yeah, hope that makes sense. Iqbal says, I have started using Merch Wizard and it is great. Is there any risk to my Merch by Amazon account using a tool like this? Iqbal, I'm pretty sure Merch Wizard is the safest of the lot that I'm aware of. I know there's various different tools out there. Merch Wizard doesn't do anything I think that's questionable. It just kind of speeds things up, and it does it kind of within the browser and stuff. So it's not that suspect. I think there are solutions out there that will auto upload and stuff that are software based that I stay away from, but I do use Merch Wizard. I think it's a very handy tool, and I'm not concerned about Merch Wizard damaging my merch account. So yeah. Destiny says, do you have to put words in your design? Destiny, no, you don't have to put words in your design. You can certainly do designs that are just illustrations or aesthetic based, but you will have to use words to describe your design in order for it to be found and be seen by people. So you have to know, what are people going to be searching for? What words and phrases are they going to use? And you need to be able to list out a few variations on that, not just one word. But chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, funny chicken designs, fast food puns, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, hope that helps. Fiona, I'm keen to start designing now. Your book looks like it might be an interesting read and maybe a great next step for me getting my head around designing t-shirts to sell. Yes, Fiona. What's your question? Of course you should buy my book. It's very, very reasonably priced. Yes. Yeah, I think the book would help. The little book of t-shirt ideas is basically 14 ideas, frameworks, I should say, frameworks to help you come up with ideas. So if it's a really good introduction, especially if you're just getting started to t-shirt design and you're looking to find some low-hanging fruit and you want to make sure you shortcut your path to success and sales, you don't want to have to do everything yourself and learn the hard way. It introduces you to some concepts and gives you some introduction to that stuff that I think really is helpful and practically helpful as well. So yeah, do go and check it out, michaelessek.com/books. I think you'll find it there. Ray says, do you sell shirts on Society 6, Michael? Just getting going, and there are many different sizes for many of the products. I'm not sure if I need to make my designs fit everything. Ray, I do have a Society 6 account, but it's been a long time since I uploaded on there. I think they sent me £10 or something yesterday, so I still make some money from it, but not a lot. From my experience, Society 6 was painful to upload to, and you did have to do different artwork and stuff. So it wouldn't be the place I'd start. If you go to my website and look at, I have an article on the best print-on-demand sites for artists. Society 6 is there because Society 6 is a specifically useful if you're doing kind of abstract artwork and stuff, or wall art and things. But it wouldn't be my starting point. I would start with Merch by Amazon, then Redbubble, then TeePublic, and Society 6 would be down the list. So yeah, hope that helps. Vivian says, thanks, that helped. You're welcome. David says, what platform do you use to allow you to draw designs on your screen? So I'm using Procreate on the iPad, and then I just have my iPad hooked up to my laptop to allow me to show you what I'm doing on here. Oh, sorry, Fiona says, where to find book was my question. So yeah, if you go to michaelessek.com, and in the top, you'll see a link to books. Click on that, and you'll see the little book of t-shirt ideas. And you'll be able to get it from, if you click that link, you'll be able to get it from there. You can buy it as an ebook, or the ebook and paperback, or the complete bundle, which also features a poster to hang on your wall, a big 17-inch by 24-inch cheat sheet poster. So yeah, hope that helps. Eric says, is the book on Amazon? Yes, it is also available on Amazon, but it's more expensive. You should buy it from me directly, because I will send it to you with a cute little postcard, and it will come directly to you from me, and it'll be cheaper. Okay, only one question from me. I know that retro t-shirts are making a big comeback. How far can you go using stuff that we used back in the 60s and 70s? I'm not sure what you really mean by what you can use, but when you say retro t-shirts, I think faded colors, weathered looks, 70s style fonts and stuff, and that's all fine to use. Obviously you're talking there about generic design elements, not about what you wouldn't do is use obviously a Rolling Stones logo or anything like that. But you can obviously, if you looked for 70s clip art or 80s clip art, you'll find a lot of things that represent the 60s or the 70s that you can obviously do your own version of and do stuff like that. So hope that helps. Anna says, it's an excellent book. You should get it. Agreed, Anna. Colette says, good morning, everyone. Michael, thanks for sharing. You're welcome. Thaddeus says he's waiting to win the book. No good comes from waiting, Thaddeus. You should just go and buy it instead. Lance says, book is a gold mine. And Ray says, sorry, I meant just starting uploading to Society 6. Oh, right. Okay. You just wanted to get things on Society 6 as well. I see. So yeah, I do think it's unless it's significantly improved, Ray, then Society 6 was always quite difficult to upload to. But if you're going to do it, then absolutely. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way around it than having to create the artwork that you need. Okay. Rick says, looking forward to the bundle. Awesome. And Eric says, just bought the book. Awesome. Cool. Okay. So, guys, I think we will leave it there for today. Has become a bit of a book pitch, but that was unintentional. If you would like to win a free copy of the book, don't go refunding if you just bought it. But if you'd like to win a free copy, then all you have to do is wait for this live stream to finish, go to this video on YouTube, and go and comment underneath and tell me what you got out of this video today. Tell me what was your best bit, what your takeaway is, or something like that. I will pick my favorite, and I will then let you know and send you a free copy of the book from next week. So that's all you got to do. Manash says, what about your other book, Selling More T-Shirt 1? Will it be helpful for a new person into POD? Yeah, I think so. The other books are a little bit older, but they are still pretty evergreen in terms of their content. The other books are both ebooks, How to Sell More Shirts and Grow Your Own T-Shirt Business. So yeah, they're not... I'd say they're less kind of practical books. Little Book of T-Shirt Ideas is more of a practical thing to help you. The other books are a kind of various collections of tips and tricks and stuff like that to help. So yeah, it could be worth your time, Manesh, if you're just getting started. Eric says, will this webinar be saved to rewatch? It's not a webinar, it's a live stream, but yes, it will be. It'll be available straight away, should be. So yes, thank you guys. Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Thaddeus. I think we will leave it there. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Kathleen. Do you sell any hard copies of the bundle? No, Kathleen, at the moment I do not, although I am exploring that possibility of doing paperback versions of those as well. Largent says, cheers, Michael. Excellent content and well informative. Thank you. All right, cool, guys. I think we'll finish it there. Hope it was helpful. Hope you had a fun time hanging out as I did. If you haven't already, do please like and subscribe on YouTube. That would be really helpful for me. And next week we'll do something similar or different, maybe. We'll find out. Vivian says it's more valuable than a webinar. Exactly. Webinars have got a bad name. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Irina. Thank you, Mutant. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Enna. Thank you, David. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Kathleen. And I will see you all same time next week for something similar and hopefully as helpful. All right. Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon. Peace out. Don't forget to comment on the video on YouTube after this stream finishes so that you can perhaps win a free copy of my book. All right. See you later. Bye, 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 bye. Oh, no, I didn't hit.